Welcome back to Empowered K-12. I'm your host, Elena Pinkley, and you're listening to Partners in Purpose, a series of conversations with partners who are developing purpose-driven solutions to help schools and communities thrive. Today, I'm sitting down with Daniel Oroszlan. Daniel is a mechanical engineering student from the University of Ottawa who's building something pretty impactful. He recently started his own company creating safety devices for schools, retirement homes, and hospitals, all centered around helping first responders quickly know if a room has been cleared and whether it has been re-entered. Good morning, Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to have this talk.
We're excited to have you here. Just to get started, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what got you into engineering.
Yeah, so my name's Daniel, or I go by Danny, and I'm 20 years old. And ever since I was a kid, my dad was he's an electrical engineer, so he was super math and science oriented. And ever since I was young, I always liked solving problems and a lot more of the STEM side of things. And it's kind of what led me into engineering. I love finding new solutions for things and trying to use my creativity and just problem solving and brain as much as possible.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know engineering is one of those fields where it takes a lot of studying and work that, you have to put into it. I'm sure it's a lot also trying to start up a business while being in school at the same time. So let's talk a little bit more about SwipeChek, because I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in what you're building here. Where did the original idea come from?
So last summer, I was working at the Royal Mental Hospital here in Ottawa, and we noticed these things on the doors, and we always had to replace them. And we were asking the carpenter, what are these things on the doors we have to replace? And he said it's a little tag that shows if a room has been checked and if it's been re-entered. But the way it was built, a lot of the times, due to the nature of the building, people would get bored or whatever would happen, and these tags would end up breaking all the time. And there were weeks where we'd have to replace 10, 20 of these tags every week. And as a joke, he kind of thought I wish there was a better one, where me and the other co-op student, Timothy, we ended up designing a new one. And at first we showed the carpenter, and he kind of took it out of our hands and showed it to his boss and showed it to his boss. And they're like, hey, we'll take a ton. And we were not in the position to make a lot, starting with just my 3D printer in my room. So that's kind of when SwipeChek came to life.
That's awesome. Did you, how many did you end up making?
So initially we ended up prototyping with so many different versions. All the iterations are here on my desk, but we ended up making 25 at first, tested all those out, and now we're trying to land them in the Royal.
Wow, that's awesome. And a lot of work to test those all out as well. So for people who are unfamiliar with how it works, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so right here, I have our design, which right here, it has a reflective screen, and this would be mounted on top of any door, and the door frame would be right here. And once the room is checked, the nurse or whoever's clearing the room would swipe it across. Now, when the door gets broken and the room is re-entered, it automatically swipes back, so first responders know that the room has been re-entered. So we initially designed it for retirement homes and hospitals and such, but we thought it'd be an amazing tool to have it in schools as well. With the increase in school violence, we thought this would help evacuate the rooms and makes all school evacuations and lockdowns much safer and more efficient.
Was there a moment that made you realize there might be a need for this in K-12 environments?
Unfortunately, with seeing the news and seeing the increase in school violence, I really wanted to find a way to help the people I care about. And we figured a small device like this, while it isn't something super life-changing, even just saving a couple seconds at a time could really help during an evacuation or during a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about the path that led you here, because obviously you're 20 years old and already building a company centered around safety and emergency response. And that's not a typical path for most students. I mean, when I was in college, even trying to do internships while I was in college was just a lot. So what's something about entrepreneurship that surprised you once you got into it?
It's kind of a double-edged sword here, because one thing that did surprise me is how alone it can feel with so many hundreds of resources to be able to help or choose from or learn from myself, because this is my first time doing it, right? So learning it all from scratch, it was a little tough, but with the help of the Invest Ottawa and especially the Startup Garage at my university, I've been able to get so many resources and so many friendly faces that help out and make this dream possible.
That's awesome. What is the Startup Garage?
So the Startup Garage is an amazing program at the University of Ottawa where 20 to 30 companies apply per semester. And in my cohort, 3 companies ended up getting in, where every week we have meetings with different specialists, whether that's IP lawyers, marketing, etc., as well as a grant. And that really helps get a head start on the entrepreneurial aspect of starting a company. So with that help, I've been able to meet so many people that have really helped along the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's such a great program too, just to be able to make those connections and get the resources you need. So have you noticed, because a lot of people, when they're starting something new and they're very young, sometimes people don't take them as seriously, or they think, they're too young, they haven't had enough real world experience to be able to do something like this. So have you noticed people treating you differently because of your age?
At the very early development part of it, I haven't really noticed it, no, because this program that I got in is for people my age, maybe 5 to 10 years older. Where I do think I will start to notice a huge difference is outreach and client outreach. From being a 20-year-old kid trying to sell you something, I think people are going to be a lot more hesitant to listen. But so far in the development and actually setting up the company, I haven't really noticed anything like that. I think later on, once we try to get into schools and retirement homes, I think that'll be a lot tougher.
Yeah. Well, the good news is sometimes, at least in my perspective, sometimes being younger, even though some people do treat you differently, you do also have the mentorship opportunities, because you have a lot of older people that you can look up to that can help you with things. So I think, it's a trade-off. Have there been any sacrifices socially or personally while building this?
I think for sure, balancing school, the SwipeChek, and as well as being a competitive athlete, I do think it's a lot to handle. So there are some times where I can't go out with my friends or something like that. But with balancing all these things, you kind of have to realize the priority of the different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think figure out a proper work-life balance is super important. So I do think some kind of sacrifices have to be made, but I do believe it's for the greater good. And I still do try to focus on spending time with the people I like and just the people that are close to me.
Sure. Yeah, it's really important to have that work-life balance, especially when you're kind of doing your own thing or starting your own business, especially when you don't have like a full team yet or a bunch of employees to help you. You kind of you're taking a lot on by yourself. So
Mhm.
it is important to, have that social time, because if you burn out and you're the whole company, essentially, the whole company is burned out. So I did have one more question about, the company itself. Has it changed the way that you think about your future? Like when you initially were going into college, were you planning to get a job out of college, or was your intention to always kind of start your own thing?
I always thought I wanted to start my own company at some point, and I still do believe that I want to start more companies later on. However, it definitely has made me realize that it's a lot harder than I initially thought. But I do believe that with this first company, I do believe that it's taught me so much, and it's taught me how to incorporate. It's taught me how to deal with lawyers. It's taught me how to figure out financing, how to get help, how to get funding, how to raise grants, all this kind of things, which I am super grateful for. And
Mm-hmm.
overall, I do think that I will continue down the entrepreneurship path. But yeah, I'm super
Yeah.
excited to see where the future leads.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, but I mean, if you are willing to be flexible, you can pick up on so many different things. I know even just with doing my podcast, it's insane how much you can learn in just like a year. You just have to research and rely on yourself to get things going. People can stay in a company for 20 years, but you do entrepreneurship for 1 year and it can completely change who you are as a person. So, where do you hope SwipeChek goes over the next few years?
I would really like to see it help as many people as possible. So I'm in Ottawa right now, so I think getting it into Ottawa healthcare would be super important. Getting it into the Royal obviously would be an amazing first step. And frankly, just as many places as I could. So as many retirement homes, schools, healthcare centers, rehab centers, things like that. I really just help as many people as I can.
And where can people connect with you and find your work?
Yeah, so we have a website, swipechek.ca, and check is just CHEK. And you can find all of our emails there, all the information. If you're interested on purchasing or just hearing about our journey, that's the best way to reach us.
Daniel, thank you for taking the time to be here and having this conversation with me. I really enjoyed interviewing you and hearing a little bit more about SwipeChek and how you're just growing your business as a young entrepreneur. So thank you for coming and sharing your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
If this episode resonated with you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future conversations with leaders shaping education. Thank you for listening to Empowered K-12. I'm Elena Pinkley, and this is Partners in Purpose.